Hey everybody, how is it going? Welcome back here to Performance on Wheels. Summer came to an end quite rapidly as it was Supercar Saturday 2 days ago, and then we just randomly got 7 inches yesterday. Thank you, Minnesota. This is just great. So it is time for me to put the Abarth in storage. Well, maybe. I'm actually selling the car. Yeah, 6 months of ownership, I'm already selling the vehicle. Today we're gonna go over the reliability, what I've had to deal with, if I've had any major issues, if this is a car you should consider purchasing, and what it really did for me. Right off the bat, I'm gonna start with the design of the car, how I feel about the design after 6 months of driving it just about every day. I really like the way the front end looks. I'm gonna put the hood down here so you can see the stripe that I put on it. I did put stickers all over the car because honestly, completely stock, the car looks way too cute. And that's the main thing that bugs the crap out of me, is whenever I pull up to car shows, whenever I show family, the first thing I get is it's so cute. Yeah, that's harsh for a car guy to say the least, because I've tried everything I can to make the thing look mean. You know, I've painted all the chrome black, I've added stickers here and there, and it hasn't worked. It really hasn't. So it's still considered cute, and that's where I'm at with that. I really do like the look of the car though. From the front, the side, the back is a little iffy in my book. I don't like the way it just instantly comes to a stop. I wish they had more of a slope to it, but other than that, I really can't complain. Now talking about the engine. Yes, it has a 1.4 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder multi-air turbo. It's one of the Dodge engines actually, and it does do quite well. I'm quite proud of the engine and impressed with it too. It has handled all the power that I've put into. I haven't put a ton in it. I've done a Euro Compulsion V4.1 intake, a Madness 500 Catless Downpipe, a race chip GTS piggyback tune, go fast bits diverter valve, Eibach lowering springs, and it's been a lot of fun. It really has. I haven't had any issues with the engine. It's been very reliable for me, except for one thing. I had a CV axle boot go out on me, which apparently is quite common on these, and this is what completely wrecked it for me. It took me about a month to get parts. An entire month. I could have gone to the dealership and bought the entire CV axle, and it would have taken them about a week to get it. And they were asking, what was it? I think it was $650 for a CV axle. That is the most expensive CV axle I've ever heard of in my life. And when I started looking into some other things based on the mileage the car is at, it is ready for some other maintenance things that could possibly start to go out. And parts are so hard to get for this car, so incredibly hard based on the things that I've started doing research on. This is not a normal Fiat 500. It's not. There are not many pieces that this shares with the normal Fiat 500 when it comes to the main components of the car, the suspension, the axles, the engine, the transmission. This is a very, very hard combination to get parts for on this car because you can't order them from Europe either for the engine because it has a different engine. This is the only place that this engine is used in this car, which is a low production car that is extremely rare, that they no longer build. So that worried me a bit, and I thought it was time to sell it after that happening to me. A lot of people have also asked me if the Catless Downpipe is a bit much. It is, yeah, it's completely over the top. It's ridiculously loud. It pops and bangs like crazy without a pops and bangs tune. It just does that because of the Catless Downpipe. It's pretty unbelievable how loud the car is, like you're hearing right now. I also get the question all the time of how much attention does it get, and it's an absolute crap load. It's honestly over the top. On the road, a lot of people are looking at this car constantly. But when you go to a car show, I'll park right next to my dad's F-Type R, like you can see in all of our other videos, and this car gets unbelievable amounts of attention compared to the F-Type. It is crazy the amount of attention this car gets, just simply because nobody knows what it is. Nobody's ever really seen one. They are very uncommon, and it's just a ridiculously loud little car, and people are like, what the heck is that? I also want to get into some likes and dislikes with the car over the ownership period that I have had it for, and we're going to start off with the passenger seat. We mentioned this in our review about how bad the passenger seat was, and that is the absolute worst part of the car. But as I go to sit in here, this and the driver's seat have made me completely not want this car anymore. I absolutely loved it at first, but after extended periods of driving, I have major cramps trying to adjust my foot to use the gas pedal. The passenger's head is constantly hitting the roof, and they're always complaining because you drive by an Impala and you're sitting up higher than them. It's like, what the heck? It just isn't right at all. I'm very much so ready for a car with a lower sitting position, and I'm very disappointed with the sitting position in this car. I do, however, love the seats. I mean, they're not super supportive, but they are comfortable. If the car had a lower sitting position by 4 inches and the dash came down the same amount, I truly would absolutely think this would be a perfect car for the autocross course. But for an autocross course, you're sitting up a bit high, which I never got the chance to autocross it. I was about to, then my CV axle boot blew out, and I had a lot of opportunity. Another extremely common question I get is, how is the storage? I mean, the car's extremely small. One of my biggest complaints is when you're driving around, there's no center console. You got an armrest, and then you have 3 cup holders and 2 cup holders behind that, and there's no place to put anything. There really isn't. It's extremely awkward, especially when you're trying to fumble around with your phone and trying to use navigation, you're confused on where you need to go, trying to shift. It's a very poorly laid out interior. I did work with somebody for a bit, and he was going to 3D print me a center console that would stick into the rear cup holders and sit between the passenger and driver seat, but it never ended up going through. Now, talking about rear storage, my car has a rear seat delete. Therefore, I really haven't been able to not fit anything in the back. There's tons of room back here since I have that rear seat delete. There's more than my previous car, which is a 4-door full-size car, and I really haven't had any issues with the rear seat delete. Having the rear seats, however, that means that the seats come to right here, which basically completely eliminates 3 feet of my trunk. And I also don't have the Beats audio, which would eliminate another 2 feet of my trunk. The subwoofer goes to about right here. So if you did not have a rear seat delete, you do not have the Beats audio, you would have about this much trunk space. So yeah, it's a bit unrealistic how small the car is if you're wanting back seats. But if you don't, and this is what you end up going with, it's absolutely perfect. Like I said, you know, I'm able to throw like 60-pound sandbags in here without an issue at all. I have tons of space in here, and it works quite well. I'm also going to talk about some of the maintenance that I did on the car. I have another video about stuff that I did, but also maintenance and working on the car. I did brakes all around. That was pretty self-explanatory. The rear brakes are a bit tricky, however, because I don't remember if it's one of the slide pins or one of the caliper bolts, but there's something that gets in the way of the hub, and it makes it a very big pain to get off, and it takes some time to do, but you can do it without taking off the hub. I do think that they recommend you take off the hub, however, but you can do it without it. Working on the car, otherwise, you know, putting the Catless downpipe in, the intake in, the Catless downpipe was an absolute pain in the butt. Having to get the exhaust shield off, which is right in between the fan and just the back of the motor, and you have no space at all. That was an absolute pain. It took quite some time. An oil change is very hard to do. You kind of have to get a long extension ratchet in between the headlight and part of the frame at the front of the car so you can get on top of the oil filter. Otherwise, you have to somehow manage to make a very weird curve to get to the oil filter. You also have to take off a strut brace on the bottom to do the drain plug, as well as the bottom shield for the car as well. before we get into the just cleaning it and saying goodbye, I want to talk a little bit more about the ownership experience that I had. I bought this car for $5,800 from Ryan Chevrolet in Minot, North Dakota. They lost the title to the car. This is another video on. I didn't have the title of the car for a very long time, which also, you know, I have a lot of issues that I had with this car that made me feel like it was just kind of pushing me away. The whole title issue, the CV axle issue, and then I overfilled the oil. Shouldn't even bring it up, but it was my fault, and I just completely lost all hope in this car. I absolutely love it though. So I paid $5,800 for it. I'm selling it for $9 grand. $9,000 on the dot I'm selling it for. I already have the buyer lined up. She's ready to take delivery of the vehicle. So today I'm going to be cleaning it, saying goodbye. But this was my first car. This was my first car that I bought with my own money. And I already have what's next lined up pretty much. I'm in between a few of them. I plan on flying out of state and driving it back. I'm not going to say what it is, but I will say that it has over 400 horsepower from the factory for a 6-speed manual. It is rear-wheel drive, has a lower sitting position, what I want. It handles better, what I want. Actually, I shouldn't say that. This car handles extremely well. I forgot to bring that up while driving. But the handling truly does impress you too. I mean, it's this short, so how shouldn't it? It goes around roundabouts extremely quick, and over really high speed turns and longer swoopy turns, the back end does like to step itself out. I have noticed that. When I did the lowering springs, it helped that a bit, but the back end still likes to step out under more high speed cornering, which is definitely sketchy because it's not something that you can achieve that well or recover from that well, I should say, due to it being a front wheel drive car. I do think this would be a lot better as an all wheel drive or a rear drive biased car, just due to the proportions of it. But the way that this car handles, the way that it accelerates, the smile that it gives you, the sound that it makes, I would fully suggest this car if you were okay with possibly waiting months upon months for parts if something breaks, and possibly spending thousands of dollars if you aren't willing to fix it yourself, and it's still taking time for them to fix it trying to get parts. This is a fantastic car for the weekend. I daily drove this car and I would not suggest doing it. The gas pedal really does give you cramps. The sitting position is not comfortable, but it's a lot of fun. The handling, the sound, I couldn't be happier with my purchase. About the fact that the sound of the car is by far the most fun part of the car. I mean, just listen to how good this thing sounds. Not just how loud it is, but the quality of the sound. The quality of the sound, my bad, is actually so good. I'm gonna echo off a couple of buildings here. So over the top. So over the top. I love it. And it actually pulls really hard too. It's just the feeling that it gives on the interior. I mean, if you look at the speedo, it's not ridiculous how fast it is. It is a very quick car. I've kept up with the Ford Focus ST. Another thing a lot of people ask me is if the gearbox is in a weird location. I mean, it's actually only 2 inches away from the steering wheel, so it actually feels quite natural compared to what it looks like it would feel like. It's just the sound of the turbo and the exhaust mixed together. I'm gonna miss it so much. Oh, it just sounds so good. So officially, this is it. This is the last drive in my 2013 Fiat 500 Abarth. Kind of sad, I'm not gonna lie. I really do love this car. I've had a lot of fun in this car. I've made a lot of memories in this car. I really have. And it's gonna be really hard to let it go. And that sums up that. I'm selling the Abarth 500. This is the last video it is ever going to be in. Thank you guys so much for continuing to watch the Abarth 500 videos. I really hope you guys enjoyed them. Comment down below what kind of car you guys think I'm getting. Like I said, 400 horsepower plus from the factory, 6-speed manual, rear wheel drive, low sitting position, and it is a coupe. There will be a video coming soon of me probably flying across the country and driving it back in the middle of winter, and I'm just gonna basically drive it back and store it immediately, so we'll have to see how that goes. So be sure to subscribe so you can see that video. Thank you guys so much, and I hope to see you guys in the future. Also, we traded our Mercedes-AMG GLC 43 Coupe in for this Range Rover, so there's a video coming soon. And go check out the video on the Velar that we recently just did. Have a great day, guys.